Hey guys, John here. It's been a while. I wanted to just jump on here and talk a little bit about an idea that I've had many times over the years, and sometimes I forget. Might be a new idea to some, might be a good reminder for other people. And what I want to talk about is the fact that you can change your life completely. You can become a different person if you really want to. And I think that it's easy to forget this. Sometimes we get into ruts. We get into a rut in our life. Um, we just do things the way we've been doing them, the way we've always done them, and we forget that we can just change. We can go in a different direction, and our life can be completely different in a relatively short amount of time. This can be true in many different areas of life. One of them, a lot of people that watching this channel would know me as a traveler, I guess. My wife and I have traveled around the world. I think I've been to 50 some countries now, and I love that. But there was a time where I wasn't a traveler, where I hadn't been outside of Canada. The first time I flew in an airplane, in a commercial flight, I guess I was in a couple of small Cessna earlier once. But I was 17 the first time I flew on a commercial flight, and I flew to the United States. Prior to that, I had never flown, and I had only been to the United States by land a few times. And I know other people, started much younger. So I was a person that didn't really travel, but I was pretty fascinated with the idea of different cultures, different places, and exploring the world. And then I became a person that traveled. So I decided I'm going to do that. Actually, I think it's an interesting story because the first time I went to Russia, I taught English. And that's really why I went to the United States the first time. But I remember seeing when I was in high school an email with an advertisement to go teach English in Russia. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool for those people, whoever does that. And then somehow I saw an advertisement for the same program again when I was closer to graduating high school, and something clicked, and I was like, but wait, I could be one of those people. I could be a person that goes to Russia and teaches English, for example, and and I just sort of jumped on it. I just read what was needed, and I got in touch with them, and I did that. So I went to the United States to do some training before I went to Russia. And I went to Russia just after I turned 18. That was my first time traveling to a country outside of North America, outside of Canada and the United States. And I went alone. It was a program, so I did meet other teachers there, and I had some support while I was there. I lived with local families, and initially with somebody who didn't speak any English at all, and I didn't speak any Russian. I might have known a couple words, maybe I knew yes was da or something like that. And just like that, I sort of became a person who has been to another country, who has traveled, but I still didn't know Russian at all, and that sort of will play into another story that I want to tell, but just like that, you can. It doesn't take much, really. If you want to become a person that travels, you've never been to another place, you literally can just go on the internet. We have so many tools, just at our fingertips, literally, on your smartphone, and buy a ticket. You could just get on a plane tomorrow and go to another part of your country or to another country if you have a passport. But that's not a hard thing to do either. And then just like that, you're a traveler. Book a place to stay online. You can order a taxi on your phone in most cases. Anyway, these are all things that are actually quite simple to figure out and just do, and not that scary. Everything's a little bit intimidating when you haven't done it before, but you just do it. And in terms of Russian, what I started to say about how I didn't know Russian, languages is also something that I'm quite interested in. I'd started to learn a little bit of Portuguese before I went to Russia, and I did learn French in school. But language kind of comes along with culture in many cases, maybe in all cases, even if it's the same language, there's different vernacular and ways of speaking in different cultures. So that's something that I was interested in, and I studied a lot about learning languages even before I went to Russia the first time. But I didn't really seriously study Russian at that time. By the end of 4 months in Russia, when I was 18, I could understand more words and sort of get the gist of what was going on, but I really didn't speak. Then, when I was 21, I went to Ukraine. And I did a 3 months of training, mostly language training, and when I got to Ukraine, I still didn't speak Russian. So I'm 21, and something that's kind of funny is in Russian it's really important to change the ending of nouns and adjectives depending on the role that they're playing in a sentence, and I didn't realize how important that was, and it's sort of it's a little bit of a difficult principle to understand in the grammar. So when I would try to speak, I would sort of just like mumble or say the endings of words more quietly, and I thought people would just figure out what I meant. But I quickly learned that is it's very important because the endings of the words are so important. They can completely change the meaning of the sentence. Same words but different endings. The native Russian speakers would listen to those endings very closely, and they'd be very confused. So the point is that when I arrived there, I still didn't know Russian. So I'm 21, and after a year in Ukraine, I could speak quite well. I people could understand me. I still made many mistakes, but I could communicate well and understand most of what was going on around me. And after 2 years, I spoke very well. Sometimes people didn't realize that that Russian wasn't my native language, right? That I wasn't just a local Ukrainian there. And the reason I'm telling this story is because I was a person that didn't speak Russian, and then I became a person that spoke Russian. And learning a new language, as one example of a way to change your life, it just opens so many doors. It opens you up to a whole new culture, to hundreds of millions of people in the case of Russian that speak Russian, and I can understand different media, different music. I can travel in places and be relatively comfortable doing that because I understand what's going on around me. It's not required to know a language to travel, but in some cases it can be quite helpful. And this really played a big role in my life because then I went to university. I also studied linguistics and Russian at university. And during my time at university, I went to Russia sort of for a study abroad. And that's where I met my wife, Eva, on a train there. And I spoke Russian to her. She spoke a little bit of English, but I introduced myself in Russian, and we talked for hours the first time we met in Russian. And we stuck with it. We always speak Russian to each other. So we'll have been married 10 years this year, and we speak Russian. I speak Russian every day of my life. I speak Russian to my wife, and she speaks Russian to our kids. So growing up all the way up to 21, and I was a person who didn't speak Russian, and then I became a different person in just a year or two. Became a person who spoke Russian, and it's just fascinating to me that you could repeat that. I know that if I wanted to, I could learn Arabic to the same level that I learned Russian, just as an example to completely change your life. And I could be, living in Dubai, for example, in a year, in 2 years, and I could be a person who speaks Arabic and who is a part of that culture. And I love Brazil. I already speak Portuguese fairly well, but I could just be a person that lives in Brazil, and just it's just amazing how many possibilities there are, how many opportunities there are, and even more recently, it's something that I haven't talked about a lot on the channel yet, and I think I'll talk more about it whenever I feel like making a video. But I became a paramedic. It's something I knew I wanted to do as a teenager, but it's something that sometimes it feels like it doesn't go along that well with travel, because usually as a paramedic, most paramedics sort of stay in one place and work in one location. That's something that I'm exploring a lot, actually, starting a podcast where I'll be talking about different opportunities in paramedicine to maybe travel or work in different spheres. But I was not a paramedic. I became a firefighter 3.5 years ago. So that's an example of I wasn't a person that was a firefighter, and then I contacted the fire chief when I moved to a new town, and I said I want to become a firefighter. And then, probably less than 1.5 years later, I had certifications as a firefighter and as a medical first responder, and I sort of got into that world of emergency response. So I guess I would have been about 31, 32. And then I went to paramedic school. So that's a year, and I work full time as a paramedic now. I've been doing that for a year, and I'm 35. So, this is something that, I worked with a fellow yesterday who has been a paramedic for 35 years. He started when he was 18. So that's his life. And, you can join that life. You can become one of those people just like that. And you can change your career. You can, and it applies to fitness, just so many things. If you think, it'd be cool to be a person like that, to be one of those guys who travels, to travel around the world for 2.5 years and grow your beard out. That's something that I did. And you could do that too. It's not as hard as you might think. All these things just happen one step at a time. You buy a backpack and you start to put a few things in it, one thing at a time, and then you step out the door. Everything. It's all just one step at a time. Same with learning language, with fitness, for example. You can be 100 pounds overweight, and in a matter of months, a year, 2 years, whatever, you can completely transform your body. You can have that body that you dream of, for example, if that's what you're interested in, right? And everybody's interested in different things. So my wife, actually, many times throughout our relationship, she's paused and said, "I can't believe that you didn't grow up speaking Russian. I can't believe that, when we were teenagers, we wouldn't have been able to talk to each other because we didn't know the same language. I can't believe that you didn't grow up with the same, experiences that I had. I had different experiences here." And it's a good reminder that, this isn't normal for everybody. Russian has become normal for me. It's become second nature. It's not really harder for me to speak Russian than it is English. And that could be you in whatever you want to do. My sister is a great example as well. Rebecca, we call her Bex. She's been on the channel before, and she had a dream to go to Korea. And she made it happen. She got a degree, basically specifically to go to Korea and teach English. So she put in years of work actually to make it to that point. But just this year, she left and she's in Korea now, and she's speaking Korean there. She's teaching English, and now she's a person who teaches English in Korea. Where do you live? I live in Korea, and traveling around Asia, and you can do that. It doesn't have to be travel. It can be anything. You want to be a programmer. You want to be, get into a different profession, change your body, learn something new. yeah, it's the world is very open, and when you believe in yourself and you just start to, like I said, when I went to Russia, I opened the web page and I said, okay, who can do this? What do you need? And that's what you can do with anything that you're interested in. And I'd actually be really interested to hear if anybody watching this video has some examples of how they changed their life, how they became a different person. I'm sure there's lots of things that I'm not even thinking about. But yeah, even the Olympics, I remember there's there was some examples of athletes. I think there was a skateboarder in particular, a younger girl, and they said she started skateboarding 2 years ago, and now she's at the Olympics. Like, you can do that. It's like, she didn't skateboard before that. So like if you just looked at her 2.5 years ago, she was a girl who didn't skateboard. And then all of a sudden, 2.5 years later, she's a girl that's an Olympian, a skateboarder. So it's really just even talking through this video. It's an awesome reminder to me that you can just become somebody else. With the language thing, sometimes I think like, oh wow, okay, so I've done this for 10 years. Like I'm very good at Russian. I have a family. We speak Russian. You could do that. I mean, you wouldn't start a new family, hopefully, but you could do that, if you from when you're like 20 to 60, for example, you could live like 4 different 10-year lives or 8 different 5-year lives, right? Where you completely become somebody new and do something completely different. So your life's going to go by anyway. Sometimes I think about that. You're 32. Well, it's going to take me, a year and a half or 2 years to become a paramedic, for example, or it's going to take me, I don't know, 6 years to become a doctor or something like that. Well, you're going to be 34 anyway if you don't die. So do you want to be a 34-year-old that's still stuck in the rut, still doing what you've been doing? Or do you want to be a 34-year-old that's a paramedic or a 38-year-old that's a doctor or whatever? It's just an interesting thought, and I hope it resonates with some of you, and I'd like to hear your thoughts, what you think about this in the comments. Sort of an atypical video for this channel. Maybe I'll do some more like this. And I was just sort of sitting there watching YouTube, and this idea came to my head, and I said, I'm gonna go and do it. I gotta go get my flu shot here in about 5 minutes, but I'll edit this video and post it today. It's kind of nice to be in front of the camera again. Anyway, I guess that's it. Rock on.